see Darling put up such a great fight across the two games, because that first series in this qualifiers, it didn't really bode well. But it's clear that this team, at some point for them, like we keep mentioning, in this grand finals, it's become real. They are this close to qualifying into the main event, and they don't want to give up this opportunity, and they sure as hell are playing like it.
Yeah, this is no longer a streamer meme team, right? This is actually a close contender to one of the better teams in SCA right now. And
Yeah.
you have to start asking the question, like, is this team going to stick together? Is this a return to grace for someone like Cuckoo?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure a lot of his friends and fans will argue otherwise and say that the grace has never left that beautiful man. I might be one of them too.
That's fair.
This Centaur War Runner, we've seen him perform on it before. I think the big two heroes for him across the qualifier so far, at least in the opens, where Darling just completely decimated, were these Centaur Slardar picks. So this isn't anything too unfamiliar for him. It's a decent hero into some of these range calls as well, right? If you're able to close the distance, and you will be able to with the Stampede.
Yeah.
Just get all over them.
Well, Stampede's not the end-all be-all just because you have Arena.
That's true, that's true. It's really going to come down to these offlane ultimates, it seems like, for the team fights.
And don't forget about the Faceless Void as well. Palos, you miss one too many Chronospheres, this game might, you know, fall out of reach for you.
You're kind of crazy for saying that, because I feel like the #1 way to lose against Darling is forgetting about Palos. You can't afford to do that.
Yeah.
That's the opposite of what they did Aurora last game, which is why, you know, they ended up succeeding, because they managed to put him down, and he's such an important factor to Darling's success. 23. Once again, coming through with the harass. They routinely do this. It's so annoying to deal with, forcing the TP out, but he's already at half HP. He's gonna have to rely on Ollie for some nice tangos to keep him pepped up.
Oh, no. Not again, dude.
Drake.
It scares me every time.
Drake.
He's the one who paused, though, which means his internet's still around.
Yeah, he didn't get a complete brownout situation.
Yeah.
He's just okay, maybe a little bit of lag, restart the router a little bit, you know, call his service provider. What the damn hell is going on, guys?
What the hell's going on, dude?
Yeah, I'm trying to get into DreamLeague, brothers. Like, this is, can you wait? Like, yeah, that's
All
not even
branches.
Yeah, not even needing tangos, right? Ollie can just start
No.
discoiling away. That's the benefit of the Abaddon.
Oh.
That's a little bit off the mark there. It's one of the benefits of this Lina into the Centaur. Just that intense range.
Yeah, very hard to close the gap on Lina. And if you're positioning well, which like we've already talked about, these teams, these players, they should be positioning well at this stage of Dota. Yeah. It's going to be very hard to route out this Lina unless you get a big jump on the Storm or the Void.
I really like both these teams' drafts, because it feels like it's not going to be a situation where we look at the end of this game and we're like, oh, you know, they got outdrafted. I feel like both teams are bringing very balanced ideas and concepts to the table. It's all going to be down to execution, which is the best type of Dota to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, the only thing I am worried about from the Darling draft is the damage in the Chronosphere, right? If Palos doesn't get off to a good start, then he might be in some trouble.
Yeah. For now, Jab's giving him a little bit of a hard time, just making sure to poke him with that spear every single time he pops up. Q is just keeping Jotun busy. I think for me...
He's taking a lot of damage.
I think for me personally, at some point, I believe Cuckoo will be self-sufficient in lane, right? Once he gets that helm,
yes.
Perhaps, if that's what he's choosing to go for. But I'd love to see a rotation down to the bot side from Drake, as Jotun looks to be going down again. This is going to be the second time Jotun's giving over first blood to this Jabs and Q duo.
Once again, the positioning, it's not there on Jotun.
More like he's almost doing this on purpose, it feels like, right? Because that's not really a mistake you make at this high level. It's almost like he's like, okay, I fully traded out using my resources. I don't want to just sit around and be useless, so I might as well die and put on as much pressure as possible. I kind of get where he's coming from. It's a bit more of an old school sort of mentality of playing, but the last thing you want to do is leave Palos in a rough spot again.
Especially into this very good kill lane, right? The more stuns, the merrier in Dota 2. Can't help but potentially think that, and maybe this is just because Jotun doesn't play techies and Drake doesn't play Bow Rider, but you might have like just as much kill potential in the top lane and a better save potential in the bottom lane. right? The techies being able to stop them with not just the sticky bomb, but with the blast off as well, where Flame Break doesn't quite provide that same utility.
Well, I'm just a little bit worried playing techies into this lane because there's so many stuns to stop it. For now, Armel in some trouble, but it's almost routine. Drake, near this 3 to 4 minute mark, he always comes into the mid lane to try and win it for Yoe, and Ollie's there every single time.
And once again, it comes down to the communication, right? Just help. I'm being ganked. Help me.
Screaming.
Ollie, okay, cool. Every single time, it's as simple as that.
Yeah. As soon as the game starts, he sets a timer for 2 to 3 minutes and just like has his TP on standby.
Yeah. And it comes down to trust too, and this might be something that Aurora might have that Darleng doesn't, is that togetherness as a team, right? That trust where might be a little bit more scattered on the side of Darleng.
Now you're disrespecting the sort of union that brought this team together. Look, I'd argue to say if there's no trust, they would have made it this far. Like all these crazy drafts that they found themselves in, the crazy no stun situation. You know how much trust you need to have to play a draft like that? It's like at so many points in that game, I'm sure you're just like, man, how do we even do this? It's the highest execution thing ever.
I think trust and faith are different things, though, if that makes sense.
Okay, please
explain. Like you can have faith in your team, but you might not fully like if you do this, I do this, and I trust that you're always going to do this, so I'm always going to respond by doing this. You might just not have that fluidness.
Okay. That sounded like a tongue twister, I'll be honest with you. You kind of went
it was a little bit.
Yeah,
it was a little bit of
delivered that with excellence. Well done.
Thank you.
23. To the twin gates come Jotun, and that's a setup that we're waiting for Ollie. Once again, he's always there. Q is going to punish him, and Jotun's just going to go down. So it was a great attempt coming out from Darling, but you need to deal with this Abaddon somehow. I'm really surprised that we didn't see a ban on it or anything, because this has been the story of all these early games, that Abaddon prevents any sort of move from Darling from coming out.
It's almost like you need your stuns to reliably kill this hero, and Abaddon just, you know, stops them from doing that.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what's going on here, is starting pressure onto Bosco. He was just walking up and mana draining. You might just pay the price for that if Drake has a blast off. But oh, look at Ollie. It's just healing him straight back up. It's a nice blast off onto 2 though. And Drake's trying to finish off the Lion. Last little bit of an auto attack. Fogged him out. That must have been the blood grenade that finished him off for some sort of damage over time. There's Bosco. Just going back up again, just forcing the rest of the side of Aurora back. So bringing 3 people up here, but not really finding the connection that they want on this center wall runner.
Yeah, Darleng, once again, they kind of found themselves under a tier 1 tower, right? It just wasn't, the lane wasn't necessarily in the best position for you to gank, but you felt kind of forced to just because of how good that 23 is doing right now.
Yeah, DCF doing well. Mars 30 and 12, but immediately upon hitting level 6, here comes Yoe. Where is Q to back him up? Right there with the stun and the spear, but Jotun from out of... Where did he come from? Comes around with the Firefly. It's a nice trajectory for the bat, but Yoe runs out of mana. Amel is here to respond. You trade 1 for 1 for now, but it's going to be a 2 for... So just chase down this bat with the traps. Firefly runs out, and so does his life. Amel, easy pickup for him. And honestly, there was a pretty crazy angle from the side of Darling, but Aurora, these early game responses, they're crisp.
Yeah. Jotun literally like came from nowhere in that fight too. That was quite funny.
I literally don't know where he materialized from. Like this Bat Rider just came through some sort of portal of unknown mysteries and started flame breaking them. I was like, what? How has he done this? Like, yeah. I guess he kind of went from the mid lane, set up a ward in the triangle, or at least set up a ward near the mid lane and just came around.
Fight may have gone differently if you have Chronosphere though, and that's kind of the problem right now. You are a little under-farmed on the Faceless Void, Storm Spirit as well.
Yeah.
Not by much though. It's not astronomically different, right? Just a little bit.
Flamebreak actually ending up bumping Amel closer to Jotun. The stun's gonna connect and he tries to make his way to the high ground. My Stampede to fish him out of there. Oh, Storm Spirit, meanwhile, setting up an Ollie in the mid lane. Yoe wants to grab this kill before the rotations come through, and looks like he'll be able to do so. Last touch, but he's out of mana. Can't zip away as Q with the control. He needs some help. Flamebreak will buy him some time, but not enough. Mana drained to oblivion there. As 8-minute rune will be denied, but Amel, I don't think he'll be too sad about that unless he dies. The chrono, we were talking about it, it's prepared. Committed, locks up Q as well. With 3 heroes hitting into him, it should be enough, but 23 has shown up to play. Laguna, it's online, but he doesn't have the mana, and you can't continue auto-attacking Paddles like that. You need to back up.
You can't ask for a better first Chronosphere. Right, you want to use it as soon as it's off or off cooldown.
Yeah.
And level 6, I mean, it's not going to be on cooldown.
Jabs. Gone on here, Yoe on that respawn. That's where the Storm is the most dangerous. And they'll work down the Mars, not wanting him to have the same early start that he had. Yoe, he's making moves all around the map, and it's, even though it's costing him his life, I can't help but feel like they're the absolute right ones that have to be happening.
Yeah, Yoe, despite dying, he's kind of shooting up on that net worth, where at one point he was down with the Faceless Void. Now he's up there with the TA and the Centaur.
Yeah, the high value kills, getting essentially what was a solo pickoff onto Ollie in the mid lane. Now converting that onto Jabs as well. There's a bunch of cores and supports that really love playing with that Storm setup, right? The Drake techies can come in, Jotun can help with the disruption. It's a pretty nice combination overall.
If this game goes like a little bit late, Storm Mags is going to be huge.
Yeah.
Right? Like absolutely massive this game.
Yeah, and mostly because you're gonna get it well ahead of when Ollie would get some sort of Aghanim Scepter, right? That's the big problem. If Ollie gets Eggs, I feel like that's where the game gets really difficult. But Ollie's +5. And
yeah.
I mean, we saw some late game shenanigans where he was able to secure that for himself, but considering that as an option right now is kind of like thinking way too far into the future. So now, Bosku will be eyeing up that Veil. No surprises there. You don't really want to kind of sack your own game with an early Blink Dagger, especially when you already have initiation with your way. Arena available. Spear up. Arena actually not even leveled. Not even needed. Just walk up. Beautiful smoke rotation. No real vision to spot that out. There's one planted near the bot side of the river, but still able to get that sneaky move.
This is really cool by Jabs. We've seen this a few times actually, but it's rare to no, hold that thought actually.
Yeah, they're trying to punish Ollie for staying up here. Jotuns come through the Twin Gates again with the wand as well as 23. It's a beautiful arena stampede, but you're going nowhere. We've talked about this. You lose the Abaddon, you finally focus him down, but it's a triple kill for 23. Perfect answer. And again, what we're seeing from Aurora is you dare to make a move, we'll bring the whole squad and punish you big time. 1k gold lead now.
Once again, they find themselves under a tier 1 tower, and it's not hard to TP in heroes. It's not rocket science, right?
Yeah. I mean, Aurora have already been demonstrating that prowess the whole game. The whole series, actually. And speaking of the tier 1 towers, you'd love to remove them as soon as possible so you can create these opportunities for aggression, but tower damage, not really something that Darling lineup has available until way later into the game. They need to rely on taking these successful team fights before they can aggress.
And even then, Void isn't the best high ground pusher, right? He's fine. But once again, it's not like a troll. It's not like a Luna where you take, you know, one advantageous fight and you mop up the racks. Void is just a little bit slower, and that could give time for those respawns, especially as the game, you know, if it's earlier, those respawns are nice and short.
Yeah. And we were talking about Yoe. He was making some of the necessary moves to put his team in a decent spot. And I dare say he's one of the only reasons why his team is in a semi-even position here. Bosco and Palos have largely been focusing on their own farm. And he's just been the one forced to try and make these moves happen. Chrono available, but they might be setting up the Palos. Already using that time while Arena available, and the Spear, it connects. Where's the rest of the follow-up though? Q trying to close the distance. Beautiful flame break. The stun is still gonna find the Faceless Void, and despite the Stampede, it's just enough. They can't slow him down, and they'll settle for the tier 1 instead.
Whoa!
No! From the middle of the tree line, Q finds his mark. Palos, I don't think he expected that range to come out, and honestly, me too. What the heck?
I didn't either.
I was like half a screen away. I mean, this guy, I didn't know the finger was that long.
Yeah, that's some Aether Lens bullshit right there, right? Like, you expect that if he has an Aether.
Yeah, what the heck? They'll try and answer back with a 23 kill. Can they burst him down in time? Looks to be the case. No, Ollie! Again and again, the bombs will explode and proximity mines doing their work. But a semi-ravage landed by Q. They've already taken down Techies and Yoe as well. Bosku trying to TP out up against the overwhelming damage from Amel. will cut down the Centaur. And Aurora, response is the name of the game, and they are absolute grandmasters at it.
Yeah, level 30 response time on
yeah,
on all of these
Grandmaster
heroes,
response.
right?
Grandmaster. They
Yeah,
unlock all
yeah.
the response voice lines.
Yeah. It's okay, I'm coming, and then that's like the all of them, right? On my way.
Literally, the Aurora team comes right now. If we dropped any of you in, you know, at TI they did that like sort of what was it called? They had a name for that segment, but it's the one where they basically potted you into their live comms and you could hear their interactions. If we did that for the Aurora lineup, it's literally dead silent until someone gets ganked and the fire alarm just starts blaring. Everyone TP. Like that's all that's coming. No one else is speaking. They know exactly what they need to do. But yeah, I think that the one successful engagement that they were managing to find was on the back of that nice Chronosphere. You have it up again, you know, Palos, he could look to get involved and set something crazy up for his squad.
It's just scary because there's not a lot of damage into it, right? Like, so what, you get a Chronosphere. It's kind of like the fight already has to have started and been going on for a little bit. We're going to try for something here potentially onto Jabs, but he's a tanky boy.
Yeah. On top of the net worth, all three are the cause of Aurora. They've done a great job in terms of securing their own game. So gather around here, Jabs is just TPing to his team. They're the ones who want to make an aggressive move on the back of this timing. The Blink Dagger of the Mars complete. Oh, this is tricky business now. We already saw how difficult it was to navigate the fight. With that Stampede, oh, Jotun. He'll break the smoke. That is the best possible outcome. If there's one thing he's good at, this is going to sound like a flame, but I'm 100% serious. It's dying in the right spot. So he does exactly that. Prevents it from being a pick-off onto Palos or Yowie, preserves his calls, and yeah, they'll get the tower. That's just kind of an afterthought, though.
Yeah, TA Deso's going to be online now, too. Aurora, they're ready to go, right? They are ready to keep on going. Q even has a Blink Dagger himself.
What a Storm Vortex. Who have they set up on? It's onto Q. It's quite a bit of damage. Drake able to find the connection, and now they're onto Amel as well. But he is such a tanky boy, especially if Ollie back him up. The rest of the side of Darleng are filtering in, and another beautiful chrono. This is what we needed, but Jabs on the other side of the fight, holding down Palos, and in comes the Laguna. The Faceless doesn't stand a chance, but you traded up for Amel. Anything even goes in your favor, but it might not look so even after all. The spear out again, Jabs, finding them over and over again. He's been so on point with this that you even see Palos pinging a high ground where there's no vision. They're just like, how is he finding us? How did they know? Just really great moves from Aurora overall, despite that brilliant chrono from Palos.
I mean, it was a brilliant chrono, but an even more brilliant arena, right? Like, that was perfect positioning. And the only reason you get that kill is because of the lasso, right? At the end of the day, it was only because you lassoed the TA and pulled her out of position. A good kill, but not as even as you'd like it to be if you're Darleng.
Yeah, I think at this point, you just take what you can get, right? You're losing out so many spaces on the map. You did get Amel. That is a decent chunk of change and some good EXP to the lineup of Darleng.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Unfortunately, it was Drake who got the credit for that kill there, and Palos ends up dying directly to 23. So, you know, it's as bad as it could be good, right? Like it's still good, but it's just on the fence. And if anything went a little differently, it would be awful. Jotun trying to come up here, set up some vision, gets absolutely smashed.
Name a more iconic duo. Once again, decent position to die in, right? Like, the enemies, they're not going to get a tier 1. Well, they're going to get the tier 1 top out of it, but yeah. I feel like you dying there doesn't really change that fact, right? If you're pulling Aurora heroes down into the bottom lane instead of in your top lane, that's fine.
Like, it looks like Jotun's just kind of just running it down a little bit, but... And I guess to the naked eye, it might look like, okay, you know, Jotun, why aren't you just farming instead? You really want to take away that space from your greedy claws? You don't really have an option. Right now, Aurora, they'll go for the obvious option, straight into the Roche Pit on the back of this TA timing. It should be an easy Aegis coupled with 23's BKB. They're about to hit a devious timing.
Like the 23 went for an earlier BKB. It's not going to keep him alive in the Chronosphere, but really, he's not worried about that. Once again, might come down to trust, right? He trusts Jabs to route the Faceless Void out of his own Chronosphere. Trust Ollie to save him if he gets chronoed.
Ollie has not messed up even a single time this game, which is kind of crazy. Every single time, right on point of the TPs, right on point of the saves. The sequencing is in order as well. Drake, easy pick off onto him, even in lieu of a Solar Crest. Saying the walls of the arena do go up. They found your way and silence him up. This is trouble, even with the flame break, the traps. That's them coming into play. You called it out in the draft, and Amel just completely pantsers Yahweh in the mid lane.
That's a beautiful way to put it. Yeah, he definitely caught him with his
way,
pants down there. You weren't expecting that early silence from the TA, but
yeah,
you almost have to as a Storm Spirit, right? It's the natural pickup for TA. It delays her Desolator, but not by too much.
It's such an easy pivot in as well, right? Like, it's great against literally every single hero on their team.
Yeah.
It can't stampede, you know, these heroes don't really want to buy Dispel as well. The Storm will be, what, you want a BKB off a Psionic Trap? That's not...
Yeah,
that's
feels
not,
bad.
that's
yeah.
not smart.
Especially when you just get like another one just right on top of you and your BKB ends, you know what I mean? Like, it's such a low committal ability.
I feel like even though this is one of Palos' best heroes, it feels like he needs like, what, 3 to 4 items to even play this game. Manage to get the Stampede off and try and get your way out to safety. The silence will wear off and the Ball Lightning comes through. He'll be fine. The additional HP from the Strength Embrace as well as just some armor from the Witchblade, helping up a ton there.
Bosku's been farming, right, Cuckoo? He's been farming pretty much this entire game, but he doesn't have too much to show for it. He's got the Vessel, or he's got the Shiva's Guard Vessel, hello. He's got the Shiva's Guard, but no Blink Dagger yet, and really nothing that he's done this game has been too incredible.
Yeah, Bosku is to be found here. Nice LSA to catch him. In spite of that Hoof Stomp, not a Stampede. Looks to be in big trouble. Jotun will come through. And 23 even pops the BKB to kill off Bosku. They found your way in the mid lane. It's another setup and another kill. Jabs hasn't had a single issue finding these pickoffs. And would you look at that? Another free Bat Rider. This will be his 8th death of the game. And of course it goes the way of Amel with that huge Melt Strike.
8th death already. I didn't even realize that.
I mean, it's 20 minutes. If we sort of go by the tempo of every 1.5, 2 minutes he dies, he's right on schedule.
Yeah.
It's tough. I don't know. I mean, 9 kills for 23 Savage. He's having an absolute standout performance. Some scariness in the early lanes, right? We were talking about the techies and the Centaur potential. Never really came to fruition. They were able to trade at least even thanks to Ollie, who feels like he's just everywhere, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what all he's... Especially, like, he didn't have boots for the longest time either. He literally rushed Solar Crest. He has boots now, but very, very funny, like you said, to be everywhere without boots.
Okay, I have a sincere question, and this is by no means saying that Darling are out of this game just yet. As we see in the win probability, Gabe still gives them a measly low 13%, right? So it's not over just yet, but we were talking about how the drafts are even, the drafts are balanced. What do you think went wrong? Like, where did it all sort of collapse for them? Because suddenly we're in this position where Aurora 11k gold out with an Aegis. How do we get here?
Yohei's just died. Not only Yohei's died one too many times, but it was that second Chronosphere, I think, that was key, right? It just completely stopped any sort of aggression that they would be coming to do at that point, right? You want to get every single Chronosphere, you want to have value. And not being able to do that puts a real big damper on what you want to do. And once again, you ask the question, are they playing with nerves? Are they scared, right? There are a lot, like, less high, not high skill players. There are very high skill players, but what I'm looking for is like the experienced players. That's the word.
Yeah.
There aren't too many experienced players. There are quite a few. Yeah. Anyways,
Darling, good?
Comparing it to Aurora. Sorry, I'm everywhere. Comparing it to the players on Aurora, right? The experience is definitely in their favor.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's weird saying that about a team with Palos Cuckoo, but like we mentioned at the very start of this, Drake and Jotun very much coming up from some more tier 2, tier 3 stacks, getting a chance to prove themselves here in what was initially a free, chill, you know, yeah, we're just gonna have fun in this qualifier. Suddenly you might just qualify. The pressure is starting to amount, and we frequently hear from a lot of these experienced players that, okay, you know, some of my teammates are newer, I need to make sure that they're in the right mind space to take on this challenge. A best of 5 is no joke. And right now you're staring down the barrel with a 12k gold lead up against you. Gaben's not really thinking you have a good shot at this. You still have the killer chrono that you can land, but I'm not really sure where the damage is coming from, and that's the question we've been asking the whole game.
Yeah. And then you also have to ask the question, are Darleng getting tired on top of it all, right? They literally just played a full best of 3.
You ever heard of the Milk Award? The Milk Award?
The Milk Award?
M-A-E-L-K. I think I must be pronouncing that wrong.
No, no, I haven't.
Oh, okay. So old school. Yeah, it's a classic. It's a classic. Skirp is chiming in on this as well. But it's he played this game. I can't remember on what hero, but he won despite having 20 deaths. So it was one of those things where he was just okay. That makes it even funnier. 0 kills, 21 deaths, and he still won the game. I think that's kind of the hope for Jotun. He's about to break a world record, everybody. That's kind of what we're hoping for.
He's gonna try his best. He's gonna try his best.
Yeah, I mean, what has made this series so entertaining so far is that it's been even, but this particular game doesn't really feel that way. It's looking a lot more like their previous series against each other, where Aurora have completely routed what Darleng are trying to do. I think there's still a chance though. I mean, Yoei, as long as there's Yoei, there's a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, and the big thing, and the same thing, right? As long as there's Cuckoo, there's a chance, right? Big hoof stomps.
True.
Jumping into the backlines on the Lina, but right now Aurora are doing such a good job at protecting 23.
Yeah, they're spacing out perfectly as well. Jabs with the setup yet again. Shiva's gonna be procced. They don't really know where the rest of Darleng are waiting, and they'll have to just back up. They have trap control in the mid lane, but Darleng are all standing on the high ground. They don't have vision there.
Just clean, concise Dota right now from Aurora, right? They are 12k up. They should feel 12k up, but they're still not willing to pressure that, like to push onto that high ground right there. Once we start seeing heroes on the map, that's when you start pushing that high ground. Ollie, oh my god, you got to be careful.
Yeah, I mean, borrowed time's about to be proc, brother. Like, you need to chill out.
Can't miscoil anymore. It's gonna proc your borrowed time.
Yeah, a little bit awkward. I try from Bosku to set up potentially something, but in reality, that's just like a fear factor situation, right? No one else is there. You're just trying to play a bit of a bluff. Now, Jabs, let's see what he's going for here. Haven't really looked at his items on the Mars in a while. Has the BKB blink, pretty standard stuff. Queued up the Aghanim shard for that additional catch. No real surprises there. What kind of other item? You think he just kind of goes back for Deso for that potential, just smashing down the Storm and the Void again?
Not when TA already has one, I don't
That's
think.
true. You're right. I'm blind. You're right.
Yeah.
Not only
Crazy.
can't I smell. Dude, it's tough. It's tough out here. You know how painful it is to sneeze permanently?
I don't. I think that's something that only you really know.
Yeah, I'm a specialist. I don't know how to tell you this.
Aurora, they are a specialist at closing out games against Darleng. That's essentially what they're going to be doing here. Roshan's going to be spawning in 35 seconds.
Mid lane chrono finding this 23 Savage. Lina all alone. The save can't come in time. Ollie's the last one to TP, and that might spell disaster. They're collapsing onto Armel. Darleng, they're finding the opening finally, but Jabs here with Arena. It's into a bunch of BKBs though. A nice God Rebuke as well as the Lion Stun, trying to keep Aurora in this fight, but they're dropping really, really low, and Ollie can't offer up anything else. Armel looking to go down one last little shield. Bosku trying to close the distance, needs one last auto attack, but can't find him. Under the invisibility, Armel will blink away, and somehow, someway, thanks to Ollie yet again, Armel lives. And Bosku, he has to turn tail and run right now. Speared away, it's not gonna connect. A rare miss from Jabs, but Q, he's on the case, looking for an angle. Drake, he'll come in, interrupted by the rebuke. Perfectly played from this Mars to turn that fight around. And the tips come through, maybe just laughing at each other a little bit, as Armel stands through it all. In these kind of situations, I want a tab on the fight recap showing just how much healing and dispels were put into place by this Abaddon, because holy shit, he just turned that around.
Once again, we're kind of asking ourselves the question, why are you letting Ollie play Abaddon? Why is this hero still in the pool when he has shown so many games in this close qualifiers, not even just this series, but in this close qualifiers, how prolific he is on this Abaddon?
Yeah, it's not even a question anymore to us whenever it's picked up, right? You're like, oh, you know, maybe we pivoted. No. What do you mean? He's about to win the game. He's about to win the first 20 minutes of the game for you on this pick. And maybe even later if you let him. They'll just hit straight into the Roche. It's up now. And that was, for what it's worth, a really, really nicely timed. And the timing was off, right? 23, you could tell he was completely caught by surprise. And the TPs weren't even in order. Ollie was the last one into the mix, couldn't save his Lina in time. But it didn't matter. Amazing arena and setup from Q and jabs. Just holding it in place, giving Ollie that time to work. And now they're staring down another Aegis. This is troublesome.
Chrono in 20 seconds. They're going to hold this high ground here on Darleng. This is potentially the best position that they've had in this game right now, is this high ground. Right? Unless it's their high ground.
I will be honest and say that I think the high ground is still going to be an extremely tricky affair for Aurora.
Absolutely.
You can't just breach this willy-nilly. I mean, even with the Aegis, you've got to be feeling a little scared. And you can see immediately they're not barreling down any lane. They're just making sure to clear out the creep waves, just covering all their bases, maybe waiting for 1 or 2 more items before they really commit.
It's disciplined Dota from Aurora, right? And that's been the name of the game throughout this entire series, throughout their entire run in these close qualifiers, right? Every single move is methodical, right? There's thought into every single move that Aurora make. They are not scared. They are not acting just willy-nilly. They know exactly what they're doing, exactly where to TP, where to position, when to TP. Maybe not in the right order, but they still get the job done, right? They still win the fight at the end of it all.
Time for your every 1.5 minute Jotun death.
Yep.
23 makes it happen. He's on track. I mean, oh no, Arena in the mid lane. Any follow-up stun. Not in time for Yowei to pop the BKB, and now he's onto Q. Palos straight onto this poor Lion as well, and he's gonna go down, but the fight, it's already broken out. Another beautiful chrono, but Ollie, he's outside of it, able to help out with the shields and the miscalls, but it's not gonna be enough to keep Jabs alive. Oh, Jotun coming through the buyback. They've gotten Mel, and he's dead. The last one standing is 23 with that BKB, but Darling, they found the opening that they need. A bit of overzealousness from Jabs, jumping up to the high ground to set up the Yowei, but the BKB from the Storm pays dividends here as they'll kill 23 the once. Looking at the second life without a BKB, this should be easy pickings. It really just remains to be seen whether he's able to kill Drick as well, but no such luck as Ollie will just get worked down. It'll take some time. We'll have to return that one. But you know Palos is feeling good when the voice lines start coming out, and 5-man team wipe for Darling. This is what they've been waiting for.
Yep. There's not necessarily an item timing that they're waiting for, but just some sort of mistake to be made from Aurora. And, you know, literally just as I was praising all the movements that they're making, that felt incredibly scattered, right? There is no way you full to 0 Storm Spirit on his own high ground.
Well, you tried, and honestly, with 5 stacks on the finger, maybe they thought they had the damage, but clearly, I mean, just that slight miss on the Earth Spike, that little bit of distance it didn't cover. Yo, wait. Okay. Okay,
no stuns. No stuns anymore.
That made my butt clench a little bit, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, a little scary. A little scary, to be fair, yeah.
Yowei highs and low lows, right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
We saw it happen before where Yowei was just kind of chilling, TPing back to base on Ember on the high ground and just got caught by Mikoto and solo killed. Like, that was... So, I mean, yeah, he'll get away with his life now. And it's so important for him to keep that intact. He is one of the driving factors that's going to keep his team in the game.
As he usually is, right?
True.
That has been Yowei's kind of position, is
team,
to... Yeah, right. Like that's his goal, and that's been his role, right? Making, because Cuckoo, he's been playing very farm heavy on these heroes, right? Multiple times, multiple games, Cuckoo has not left top lane for 20+ minutes.
Yeah, I mean, this game is kind of paying off because he's able to be that frontliner. It's just a matter of what we talked about in the draft, where the Arena inherently just deals with him so well. The Stampede comes out right in time. They don't want to commit onto this high ground without any additional vision. Oh, Yowei is jumping in straight onto Armel. The Arena, Jabs was waiting for him on the high ground, and now the Storm's in trouble. Forced to pop the BKB, and he'll get out of there. Oh, Yowei, he's playing on a nice edge right now. Drake might just be the one to get caught. The rest of the side of Aurora are filtering in as Armel comes back into the front of the fight. You gotta watch yourself there. You don't want to get caught out by a stray chrono. You know Palos might just be looking for that opportunity, but both teams butting heads a little bit. Will just back off. It's a lot more even than it was 5 minutes ago, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. And Aurora must be feeling it, right? You can tell by their movements. They understand that if they don't get the jump, if they don't do something in their arena, you're probably not going to be winning the fight.
Yeah. It was a good kind of position from Jabs to take as well. I mean, I'm sure that caught Yowie by surprise, but that's why the BKB is so important. Q gonna get caught up here, farming away at the hard camp. Should be free pick off. Palos will snatch that one. But that informs the side of Aurora on the whereabouts of Darling. Now they need to be additionally careful. Jotun, no blink, but still could just lasso a free target. They spot up Jabs. Starting to converge. The traps will give them the info that they might be seen right now. Straight on, Chrono in the bot side. Palos, he's found the TA. And looking at 23, the Lina, she can't do well when you're all over her. Jabs desperately trying to come in. That's what the Stampede is for, closing the distance. And 23 doesn't stand a chance despite all these best efforts. Darling, they're finding these openings on the back of these beautiful just grabs from Palos and gang. And just like that, they white fall again. Jabs, he's held them back with the wall, but they are not gonna stop this chase. He's gonna be able to blink away. Maybe that's just enough distance, but Darling, they are absolutely doing it here in this game. Palos, you're reaching the point where the Void is becoming that be-all, end-all, and Amel just can't compare.
I just feel like as soon as I start praising Aurora, they really start positioning very weird, right? Like, Q is managing a creep top, 23's pushing bottom. Like, what's going on?
You know, the success that Aurora has found so far has largely been off the fact they've kept that formation that Ollie can do his work. But if you're a TA, solo farming bot side, and Ollie has to run half the lane just to get to you, and still not be able to be in time to save you, that's when Ollie's job gets real hard. When you're soloed out like that, the rest of the team weren't even together, right? Q just gets picked off randomly. Jabs comes in a bit too late. The BKB's already popped. You gotta keep it together, Aurora. You don't want to lose your momentum. You lose your grip on this best of 5. Like we said, I mean, we were a bit worried in that early game because we're like, oh, it's looking more like the previous series. Absolutely not, Darling. This is a revitalized version. They are hanging on and they brought it all the way back to what feels like even.
It absolutely is. I feel like Aurora have completely lost their momentum. Everything is favoring Palos and the gang right now.
Palos and the gang, that's the name of the game. He has reached the point past the rough early laning stage where he is an absolute monster. 22k net worth, mirroring the TA who's had quite a free time overall past 35 minutes. He's doing very, very well for himself. These Chronos, they are going to change everything. Aurora still looking for an angle, setting up that vision. They see the smoke. And Darling, they have
Good
no
idea
idea.
from Jabs.
They're hiding behind that tree line. There are traps in the area, but Jotun's looking for an opening. Shivas. Cuckoo will reveal himself. Let's just see whether Aurora want to make this move. The Roche might respawn in 3 seconds, which is why we see this convergence of heroes. Cuckoo come through, miss out on the stomp. But they don't dare to commit on this target with his BKB and the Stampede. He's presenting
It's
himself.
going to be a long-ish Roche time. Another minute till he's up.
I mean, long-ish compared to
posturing for a while.
the tension now, but Palos. Let him go. He's just waiting for the perfect chrono. Waiting for Aurora to make one misstep. Could just throw away their game 3 here. What a crazy situation we found ourselves in, and this keeps happening with this Darling lineup, man.
Yeah.
Something about them. Even in the face of electricity issues, even in the face of what feels like hopelessness, they refuse to let things go. Playing free, it feels like.
Yep. Yeah, and once again, we might be looking at a time where Lina, who has been very prevalent, I feel like, in the meta right now, all of a sudden, might be a disadvantage.
Coming forward, they found Amel again. Left high and dry, the lingering vision from their previous engagement serves them well and delivers them a free Templar Assassin. All the tips coming through, they're trying to really mess with their boy. I mean, they're all friends at the end of the day. I'm sure this is all just in good fun, but when your DreamLeague qualifier spot is on the line, especially for Amel, who comes in as this replacement for Mikoto, I feel a little bit of a sting.
Absolutely, and that's TA now without buyback. And like we've already talked about, momentum has been halted completely from Aurora. They are now playing scared Dota.
Yeah, Roshan is up. Easy little pickup for Palos. Love to trade in his Wraith Band for a fresh second life. Maybe even give it to Yowie, right? Allow him to just get in there and cause them to panic and drop their bags and run.
Not only that, this is Aghanim Scepter for Storm Spirit or for Palos. Two very good ones.
Oh, the jump in and the instant bash on everyone. That's gonna trip them up big time.
Part of me might still have wanted to see it on the Storm Spirit just because Aurora, they're going to be grouping around this arena, right? Yeah. So I feel like it's a very easy grab, but still, I think the Void is still equally good.
For sure.
For more exciting Dota, the Storm Spirit Axe would have been better, right?
Nah, this is a very clear situation. I don't know if you played carry before, and we've seen this from Palos a couple of times. Immediately after games where he doesn't get to be in the driver's seat, doesn't get to be that guy, he's like, did you guys forget I'm your pos one or what? Like, do I need to remind you? I mean, that Meepo game was rough, and this game he's saying, I'm the guy now. I'm gonna bring us to victory. Yeah. Get on my back. Fellas, we're going to a game 4. And that's exactly what he's doing. Taking the axe for himself. He's putting the initiative on him, and he hasn't really failed them so far. No really snuffed chronos. Really, it's just been great counterplay from Aurora to work through him, but there's a reason why this is one of his best heroes.
He's been finding, at least the last 3 Chronospheres have been on point, right? And the second one was the only one that really they dealt with, and that's only because Jabs had really good positioning on a great arena. Other than that, it's just fallen a little flat with their saves.
Yeah, that was a really kind of crazy split-second decision from Jabs to even salvage that, but again and again, I feel like Darling, they're finding these crazy openings, and it's really refreshing to see because they're not just going to keel over, they're going to put up a fight. Now on their high ground, a lot of stuns coming out. Jabs with the setup. Oh, Palos, he's dropping a little low, needs to watch himself stunned up. They're pulling everything out of the bag to try and keep him alive on his first life. Jabs forced to commit the BKB, but it's run out. The Mars is dead, has a buyback, but without your arena, what can you do? Borrow time popped by Yowie in as well. Dancing and jiving here on Darling. They're doing a great job baiting out the cooldowns and the key items from the side of Aurora. Now threatening onto the high ground. Quick fingers on the BKB from 23 and the buyback from the Mars. Looks like Cuckoo, he's got a bit too deep. Still has the BKB though, and he should be able to walk this one off. Jabs again in a lot of trouble. It might just be a dieback for this poor little Mars, and that's what will happen. Palos finds the chrono on Amel and smacks him down to size. They've just brought it to a game number 3. It feels like no buyback on your TA and Mars, and 23 will drop to the deck. The last person standing is Ollie. How fitting is Palos cleans it up with a rampage. GGG's is called. That's the little bit of money that'll be going to his bank after that insane performance. Deserves a bonus after that one for sure. What a game from Darling.
And who expected this, right?